So as we start our next chapter, let's go back and think. Who are our characters so far? Who have we met? Olivia.
William, Martha, and Callie.
Okay, so we've met 3 people, William, Martha, and Callie. What do they all have in common? Ethan?
They're both slaves.
Okay, they are all slaves. But what's the difference between them? Something's not similar between them. Sky?
Callie is a plantation slave and William is a merchant slave.
Good, so we have Callie, who's a plantation, William, who's a merchant slave. What about Martha? How is she related in all of this, Ellie?
She was also a plantation.
Okay, and what else do we know about her? Who can build on that? Sackett?
She was Callie's grandmother, and the difference between Callie, William, and Martha is that William and Callie are escaping, and Martha is just like staying as a plantation slave and not having to escape.
Good, so Sackett brought up 2 really good points. So Martha is Callie's grandmother, who is still on the plantation, and Callie and William are trying to escape right now. So they're trying to go up north to get away from the slavery in the South. What is our last piece of information, our last piece of writing in this book? What did we call that person, per se? Who remembers? Ruby? Yeah, so we have this narration that's going on too, which we're also going to talk about it being the informational part of the text, because it's giving us facts about slavery as we go on. Are there any questions before we start and go over our goal? Yeah, Olivia.
Did Callie and William know each other?
We will find out whether or not they knew each other today. Good question. With a little head. All right. So our goal for today, we have a few things. So we're going to read chapter 3. We have a team talk based on what we've been reading. And then we're going to use a 4-column chart to look at Martha, Callie, William, and the narration or the informational text. And what we're going to see is we're going to analyze how multiple perspectives offer different insight into an issue. And what that means is we're going to look at our 4 different storytellers. So those are all of our different perspectives. And we're going to see how they each have different relations to this event going on. What's the event that's going on? Brian? That was an event, but the general event that's happening throughout the entire story. Runaway slaves. I see a lot of, you got it, good. So we're going to see how they have different opinions on it. So to start us off, who would like to start reading? Let's start, we'll go with Michael, Lila, Stacy, and Olivia, and then we'll
For slaves escaping to freedom, the beginning of the journey was the most dangerous part. Until they crossed the Ohio River, runaways were in slave territory on their own.
In Kentucky, only a few white people openly opposed slavery. Runaway slaves had to depend almost entirely on other blacks, free or enslaved. Callie and William were both looking for a freed man named Augustus Garnet. He had bought his freedom and now had a blacksmith shop. Augustus had guided many fugitives to the river and freedom. Many underground railroad routes from the south crossed the Ohio River into the free states of Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois. The river was wide and fast-flowing. Crossing it was dangerous. Many runaways waited until winter when they could across the ice. Ohio became a major center of the Underground Railroad network. There were several reasons. The state shared a border with two slave states, Kentucky and Virginia. Also, distances north across Ohio to the Great Lakes were shorter than they were in Indiana or Illinois. Many runaways decided to cross the Great Lakes and end their journey in Canada, where they were sure to find freedom.
Good, thank you. And we have a caption down there. Who would like to read the caption? Ethan, go ahead.
Eric was a famous Underground Railroad conductor. An escaped slave herself, she led more than 300 people to freedom.
Thank you. Great. On this next page, let's go ahead and read the narration first, and then we'll do Martha, Callie, and William's stories. So I need 6 people to read. So Christian, Alyssa, Simon, Amber, Sam M, and Cassidy. Yes, go ahead.
Runaways face many dangers, from nightly patrols to vicious dogs. Any black person traveling on the road was likely to be stopped and questioned. The countryside itself was dangerous. Swamps and creeks often contained poisonous snakes.
News of the slaves' escape spread quickly. White people all along the escape route tried to capture the slave and get the reward. Still, thousands continued to run away.
John Parker was a former slave who became a conductor on the Underground Railroad. He said that those who ran away were braver and smarter than most. Even if caught and sent back, many tried and tried again. Once they decided to seek freedom, Parker said nothing would stop them.
Once the cow was gone, Master Henry was madder than a wet man.
Okay, Amber, can I stop you right there? Make sure that we're reading that caption so we know whose story we're on.
Martha's story. Once the new cow was gone, Master Henry was madder than a wet man. He carried on something awful. I pressed my lips tight so no words would come out. He didn't beat me. Oh, he wanted to. But his daughter, Miss Laura, blessed her. Stopped him. He and his slave catcher looked all over the woods, but they couldn't find Callie. She found the Underground Road, and Master Henry sold 2 of the fields hands south. Callie was right to run.
Okay, let's stop there for a second. So Martha says that Master Henry was madder than a wet hen. What does that mean? So we have this figurative language there. Madder than a wet hen. What does that mean? Jacob?
Well, I'm guessing if you get a hen wet, it'll probably start running around places and really get really mad. So he was probably like that and very angry.
Okay, does anybody have something to build on that? Jacob, pick somebody to build on that.
Well, if you get a hen wet, then it would be just like Jacob said, it would be really mad. So the owner was probably really mad, except he didn't want to let it out, or else more and more slaves would escape.
Is there anybody else that has a comment? So I'm going to pick one more person to share and build upon that.
I agree with Socket that if the owner let out his anger on any of the slaves, more slaves would escape. So if he did let out his anger, he'd probably do it in the night when the other slaves were asleep, so they wouldn't notice.
So, when was the last time any of us saw a hen? Has it been a while since we've seen like hens and chickens and all that? Some of us know.
No, I saw a couple days ago.
When was the last time we saw a wet hen?
I seen a duck.
Right, some of us has never. So let's think about what animals do we have at home that we get wet? What do you have, Ethan?
A 2 dogs.
Okay, so dogs. Think about a dog getting wet. What does a dog do once it's wet? What does it do? Okay, I'm seeing a lot of it. Stacy, describe it.
Mine like shakes like really crazy.
Okay, it kind of gets crazy. It shakes itself. It runs around. It goes all crazy. Cat's even worse. Don't get me started on the cat. So, imagine that. Only, why might Martha pick a hen instead of saying that they ran around like a wet dog? Why would she say a hen, Olivia?
Because hens are probably not used to getting wet because they live on a farm. On a farm, it's not like there's a swimming pool where you jump into.
Okay, does anybody have something to build on that, though?
So Martha works at a plantation, so she probably sees more hens than dogs and cats.
Perfect, thank you. So Martha, since she is a plantation slave, she sees hens all the time. So that's why she chose a hen rather than saying a cat or a dog or any other animal. Thank you. We have 2 more readers here. Did you have a question? Okay, 2 more readers.
Callie story. All day I waited as a kid. I knew not to be seen in daylight. Every noise made me, for I thought it was someone sent by Master Henry. That night I ran again. I followed the North Star. In my head I sang, "Oh, the ancient story." A song about the stars of the big picture. As I got farther on, I felt braver. The night noises didn't scare me. I knew they were just branches in the wind and animals running home. I crossed streams. I used a long stick to chase away snakes. By morning, I figured I was getting near the meeting place. I knew there'd be some kind of sign.
William's story. From Lexington, it would have been quicker to follow the road, but even with fake papers, it was too dangerous. My guide took me as far as a patch of blackberries. He drew a rough map of the way to the meeting place. How I wished for a lantern to light my way. The woods were the darkest place I'd ever been. The night seemed endless. Dawn was breaking when I saw cabins in a clearing. Which one was the safe house? I saw some white stones in a circle in front of one of them. I figured that must be a sign. I chose that one.
Thank you. On this next page, let's just do 3 readers, and 2 readers will split up Callie's story, and then 1 reader will read William's story. But while we're reading these, I want us to think about the differences in the experience Callie's having in the woods versus William in the woods, and why might they be having these differences. So again, if you have not read, please raise your hands first. So let's have Sky, Jacob, Ruby, and then we have 1 more reader on the next page. Just read like the first 2 paragraphs.
Callie's story. I made it to the clearing and the safe house. I heard a low voice calling me, and I headed for the
Corn crib.
behind the cabin. When I spilled and slitted inside, I met the guide Augustus. I also met Seth, Rachel, and her little boy. They were runaways too. We were nervous at first. We had no idea what we got to go through together. Seth was a big fellow, a lot like other field hands I'd known. Rachel was only 30 years old then, but she looked like
could tell he was from the city. He was all shaky from coming through the woods. Twigs and leaves stuck to his hair. He didn't even notice them. Augustus whispered that we'd wait till dark, then head for the river. We stayed in the cornfield. Rachel's little boy cried. When William told him the story, he stopped crying. I could hardly wait. I wanted freedom so much I could almost kiss her.
William's story. Finally got dark and we set out. The woods scared me more than the slave catchers. I jumped a foot when something screamed right over my head. Callie laughed and said it was just an owl. I was used to train whistles at night, not large birds. I imagined bears and snakes and all kinds of critters. The others seemed at home in the woods. I just kept telling myself we are on our way to freedom. I'd spent weeks planning this escape. I was not going to let the woods stop me.
Okay, so remember, what did I ask you to think about while we were reading this? What was your task to think about? Christian?
You asked us to think about how Callie felt against how William felt in the woods.
Good, so the comparison between Callie and William's experience in the woods. Let's start with Callie. How did Callie feel in the woods? Chloe?
Callie felt like she felt kind of like fine and like happy because she was getting closer and closer to freedom, and she has some of the slaves around her to help her out, and she like has some people that remind her of where she was back then, but like in a good way because like she knows them basically in her mind, but they're not actually them, but she will get to know.
Okay, does anybody else have something to add? Chloe, pick our next person to add onto that.
It said that most of them felt at home in the woods, like they weren't scared of anything.
Anything else have something really?
It said that William jumped at every sound, and he was used to loud train whistles, but not to big birds.
Okay, we're still on Callie.
That was Callie.
Fine, we're still on Callie, so we'll come back to that in just a minute. Who else has something to add, though? Olivia?
Like Ruby said that they felt at home in the woods. Callie felt like really comfortable in the woods. She wasn't really scared of what was happening because she worked on a plantation and her probably a lot of critters and stuff that she had to do.
So working on a plantation made her closer to the woods, so she probably had more experience in the woods. Now, let's go on William's side. So Stacy, start us off. Make your point one more time, and then you'll pick the next person to build on that.
It said that he imagined bears and snakes and all kinds of critters, and he was used to loud train whistles, but not big birds like he heard.
Stacy, go ahead and pick somebody to build on that.
He said the woods scared him more than the slave catchers.
So there's a nice comparison that they scared him more than slave catchers.
Cassidy. Since he runs errands and he's not used to the woods, I think that's why he was like jumping all over the place and scared since he wasn't used to it at all.
I thank you. One more person, please.
Sam?
William, he didn't feel like he was at home because he was usually, like, locked up in a store, not with any trees. He was usually surrounded by the city, walking away from the woods, so there weren't that much trees.
So seeing that difference between a plantation slave's experience in the Underground Railroad versus the merchant's slave's experience is a bit different. I'm sure we've all been in the woods, yes?
Yeah.
And you hear all the little critters and animals moving. If you're not used to that, is that a little creepy?
Yes.
Definitely. So we can definitely understand how William might be feeling being in the woods for probably the first time. And he's freaking out a little bit. Let's go to the next page, finish up this chapter. We need one more reader, someone who has not read yet. Brian, why don't you finish us off?
When Kelly was guided by a song, she was following her African heritage. Many slaves or their ancestors had come from West Africa. From West Africa. Music had played a large part in the traditions of West Africa. It became an important part of the slave culture too. Songs took on new meanings. White owners and overseers did not pay attention to their songs. Their slaves sang. They thought music helped the slaves work harder. African Americans could send messages through songs. Few white people noticed.
Thank you. So that's giving us a little bit more background about where the songs came from, which we also talked about in Heart and Soul. So we won't spend too much time, but what was the significance of the title of this chapter? Let's look back. What was the title? Whatever. What was the title? Lila?
Follow the drinking board.
So what's the significance of that? Why did they choose? Lila, pick our next.
Because slaves would like sing that when they were tired of being enslaved. So they would sing that, and then they were kind of being free when they were escaping. So it was probably like a happy time just for them to be able to be free for at least a day.
Okay. Okay, I think we have some people who want to try to build on that. So Olivia, pick somebody to build on that.
Like they chose this title as the chapter because they chose it because when Callie was running in the night, she kept singing "Follow the Drinking Lord," so she would really keep following the Lord.
Okay, and who can answer for this for me? What was following the drinking gourd? We talked about it with Heart and Soul. What was that, though? Ruby?
Follow the drinking board was a song that had secret messages to slave, like runaways to freedom. Like it was a tap and it had code words, but it said where to go.
Exactly. So the song that they used, Callie actually used to help her escape. Are there any questions before we go to our team talk? Anything need clarification? Okay. So our team talk today. Do you think William has what it takes to make a successful escape? Use details from the text to support your answer. So do you think William has what it takes to make a successful escape? You're going to talk with your team. Does anybody need clarification? Jacob?
Are we gonna do one of the debate things or not?
Not today. We did it yesterday. Today we have writing to do too, so we will not be doing the debate, but you will debate at your table. Sakas, do you have a question?
It's a comment. The first time I was in India, there's critters all over the place, like cockroaches go into your shoes and stuff.
That's a little different than here.
No, it's only because you leave them outside.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I didn't really get used to the critters and like all the different plants and stuff. But after I kept going there like every 1.5 years, I started getting the hang of it. So
Okay, so maybe you're relating that to maybe William's experience when you first went to India. It was very different for you to have cockroaches and bugs going in your shoes outside. I like that. That was a really good connection. Thank you for sharing. Any? Okay, then let's go ahead and start our team talk. What side are we on here? What side are you on?
Oh, I know he's gonna make it, but he doesn't have to.
So is that a yes or a no?
It's both.
Remember, you have to pick a side. Pick a side.
Wait, yes or
What are in the text? What do you? Where in the text do you have?
He jumped at it, like he jumped at, just like an owl, or like or something like that. I think like it was like catching like freaking out. I think he actually might have
These are all really good points. I'll come to this table. What side are you on? No? You're both no? Where in the text? What do you have?
This is like
It's important right now. You come to me and we'll work on your finish, okay? Okay, 3, 2, 1, 0. Thumb up or thumb down? Yes, he's going to make it. No, he's not. You gotta pick a side. Yes or no? Make it very clear. We're pretty equally split in this class. So for the no's, who can tell me a reason? Why do we think that he's not going to make it, and where in the text do we have that? Peyton, go ahead and share with us.
I don't think he'll make it because he like jumped when like an owl was like flying. So if there's like a slave catcher near him, he would like jump, scream at like the little thing.
Okay, go ahead and pick somebody who's still on the no side.
Amber.
The word scared him more than the catchers. So he probably would make like a mark there and probably be scared of like whatever.
What about, let's go to the yes side now. Why do we think he's going to make it? Amber, go ahead, pick our next speaker.
One is because movies and books can't really end up something good happening.
But where in the text do you have evidence that he's going to make it?
But I think he will because he has so many people by his side to help him get through it.
Who can build on that? Jacob, go ahead. Pick our next person.
It said that I'd spent weeks planning this escape, so I think he really has, like, he knows what he's doing. Like, he knows how to get through it. Even, I think it's pretty much getting over his fear of the woods, and then he's fine. I mean, once he gets over his fear, then
Mrs. Leon, call the office, please.
Hey. I think some people want to build on that, Ruby. Go ahead, pick our next speaker.
Also, he said that the woods wouldn't let him down. So he's like confident to do it because he said that just the woods wouldn't let him down even though he was scared of the woods.
All right, I love all of our answers so far. What we need to do now is, like I said, we have a 4-column chart, and it's already labeled for you. When it says the main story, that's talking about the narrator, the informational text. So once you get this, go ahead and put your name on it and flip to pages 18 and 19. We're going to go through this together, and then we will lead into a writing piece by ourselves. Multiple times I didn't have to tell you to stop messing with it. on this. Again, our objective today, our learning goal is analyzing how using different perspectives can illustrate different aspects of the same event. And we are going to use self-regulation on this one back at our station. So, under the main story, it says on page 18, it started saying runaways face many dangers. What I want you to do is go back, reread on page 18 where it has that, and then you see the post-it notes at your table. Once you've written a couple of things from the text, say 2 to 3 different events from the text that are the main story and talking about the runaways, what the runaways face, I want you to pick one. I want you to pick one and put it up on our informational storyboard, and we'll add to it. Next, you're going to, on page 18, reread Martha's story, and it says, although she does not run away, what danger does she face? So what dangers are still at the plantation for Martha? We're not sharing out loud. And then you're going to go to Martha's story and put a post-it note with one of the dangers that she faces. Next, we have Callie's story, and it says, what type of danger does Callie acknowledge? So Callie's not necessarily afraid of the woods, but what is happening? What is she seeing around her in the text that she's acknowledging, that she's noticing? And lastly, we have William, and the question there says, what is the most dangerous part of the journey according to William? So what part of the journey is really freaking him out? Callie's storyboard's over there. Williams is up here. And then tomorrow, notice today we have who they are. Tomorrow we will add what dangers they are facing to it to keep these going. Are there any questions about what you're doing? Jacob.
So where's Martha? Oh.
Martha's right there.
So for this, you write down the dangers on here, and then you pretty much write the same thing on the sticky note.
You only write one on the sticky note. You're writing 2 to 3 things for each of these boxes from the story. Sky. You do not need to write your name on the sticky note. So who can tell me, what are you doing right now? You can repeat back to me. What are we doing right now? Stacy?
We're working on a 4-column chart with 2 to 3 answers for each question, and then for each of the questions, we're putting an answer on the pieces of paper on the room.
Who can confirm what Stacy just said? Stacy, pick somebody to confirm what you just said.
We're writing 2 to 3 things down for the main story, Martha's story, Callie's story, and William's story, and then we're picking one out of the 2 or 3 to put on the informational text, Martha's, Callie's, and William's stories.
Okay. Are there any questions? Last chance. Okay, I'll be around, but raise your hand if you need any help. Go ahead and start working on this. When you're finished, just flip it over. anything is dangerous there. Because what happens when they find a slave? We went over this. So what type of danger does Callie acknowledge? Is Callie afraid of the woods? No. So acknowledge means that she's just kind of noticing. There's other dangers that she's noticing. So what does she see other people having issues with? So you should have a total of 4. something to quietly do when you were finished. Alright, we have another 30 seconds. If you haven't quite yet put up your post-it notes, that's fine. If you are finishing putting up your post-it notes, you can do that in the next 30 seconds. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Eyes and ears up here. Everything else can be put away. Okay, what we're going to do now, so with this information we have, we're going to write an informative paragraph. And what does an informative paragraph do? An informative paragraph, Jamie?
It is a paragraph that informs you
Or just,
gives you information.
there you go, something that gives you information. In which you explain how different accounts can illustrate different aspects of the same event. So what are our different accounts? In this story, our different accounts are what? Are they, Ruby?
The narrator, Martha, Kelly, William.
Okay, the narrator, Martha, Callie, and William. Notice your chart. It has all the accounts. And when it says illustrate different aspects of the same event, what is the event that we're talking about? What is the same event that's going on? Stacy?
Escaping slaves.
Escaping slaves. Looking at your 4 columns, are they all the same dangers? No. So, is that showing us how different accounts can illustrate the different aspects of the same event? So you're going to use these examples in your informative paragraph. Are there any questions? Okay, once you have finished filling out all 4 of your columns, then you are writing your paragraph in your reading journal. And if you do not have your reading journal today, there is lined paper up here. If you have not done your post-it notes, don't worry about it for right now. Write your paragraph first. And I'm going to be looking to give out some EMO earnings for those of us working very hard and putting quotations in our text. You want to get it because I'm not done reading it. Thank you. If we have time. We might have to finish up our writing tomorrow before special.
So I can like adding them.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. you need the book title in it, but what are you going to be talking about? But is it all the same? No, it's not all the same. So in the book, Sleep to Freedom, we are told, readers are told about what? How people escape slavery. That would be your story. So let's get a starting sentence. Do you feel comfortable now? We'll be back to see if we need more guidance for the next. Okay? We only have a few more minutes before we need to go to specials. So in these next few minutes, I want you to think, how were you at achieving our goal and how are you doing right now? I can explain how multiple perspectives show different aspects of the same event. I want you to think, how are you doing? And then I want you to go ahead and rate yourself when you have a second, so we don't all need to go at once, on how you feel like you are meeting this goal. And be honest, so that way tomorrow, if we need some help, I can pull those of us who are struggling.
Like a 1 out of 10, basically.
Oh, on the
Thing.
On the self-regulation and stoplight action. So we have a couple of minutes. You are. And at this point, we need to write down our final thought and go ahead and start packing up for specials. Make sure that you double check where you